Hello, everyone. It's really nice to meet you all. Today, we are going to talk about how to accelerate digitalization in pharma with low code platforms. So, introducing myself, I'm CEO and founder at AmpleLogic, and we're an organization serving to the pharmaceutical industry past 10 years. And this presentation will be for 45 minutes. Out of this, we would like to spare 20 minutes on presenting how the low code platforms help the digitalization. And the 25 minutes we'll leave it for Q&A so that we can able to relate real life case studies or real life challenges and with the low code platforms. So let me start with the challenge and the ambiguity in terms of understanding what is an automation and digitalization. So here I would like to talk about why would you digitize the process, right? And is it different than the automation? Now, when you look at an automation, that this is the source we have taken from Gartner. This is that automation is inserting a new technology into an existing process. So when you wanted to move from a paper-based process to an electronic format, so that's what we call it as an automation. But yes, this automation also gets some change in the process. So the change that meets to the electronic records, like information, how to translate. We cannot directly translate the paper-based into the electronic, right? There may be some value addition which you can able to do it with a automation. So that's where there may be a trigger to a change in your existing process. Now, coming to the digitalization is it's not just automating or inserting technology into an existing process. It is completely changing the business model. Right? So it's about creating a new business designs by using digital technologies in combination to blur the boundary between the physical and virtual worlds. When you look at the typical scenario of COVID, right, when almost entire IT industry is being working from home, so completely being a virtual. But the challenge with the pharma is not majority of these people operating with an 80% or 70% capacity, irrespective of the COVID situation. So this digitalization definitely will help in making some good amount of the workforce to work remotely. That's what we foresee as a digitalization. Now, coming to this current state of automation in pharma, so yes, there is a good amount of automation available in the medium and large scale pharmaceutical companies, and even small companies doesn't have. Small organizations are also have some level of automation already been in place. So now coming to this automation really helped the organizations in taking up remote working of a QA and HR departments and some of the other departments where direct interfacing with an manufacturing is not involved. They were being working from home scenario during COVID times. May not be in the initial stage of COVID and when the second cycle of COVID. So there are pharma companies have been working in QA and HR department. We have seen them working remotely. So, but the question here comes does the current systems helps in the distillation roadmap, right? The distillation is nothing but you need a good volumes of data, right? Because the decisions will be taken by the algorithms based on the data. So the question is is your current systems helps in the distillation roadmap? Now, coming to this, let me talk about we have good, as we said, the automation exists. There is automation each and every process or area of an automation required one system that can able to address that specific problem. For example, ERPs will solve the kind of that your enterprise resource planning and also the material management, warehousing, and all these things. And you have a QMS, DMS, LMS. Those things are really helps you in terms of the quality assurance space where you can able to track the complete the quality of the product and also the trainings and all the documents that have been submitted to the regulatory. And there's a laboratory information system where it is going to help you a lot in terms of managing your samples management. In the same way, we have electronic batch records, electronic logs, right? Your serialization, your regulatory information management system. These are all the different systems have been helping the organizations in automating the specific business process area and minimize human efforts in tracking the information. But the question here is coming in now. You have a good amount of automation in place, but these applications, I'm not talking about all the organization. And majority of the organization, these applications are running in silos. So when there is a need comes in, when the departments can able to talk to each other and do the applications talk to each other. So this is something is a question that we need to keep it. So because there is a major challenge is what we have seen in the industry. The timestamps in one system should be matched with another system. So again, there is a manual checks. Even though automation exists, the data integrity issues have been coming in, as there is no integration between these systems. Right? Not only the distillation, even the challenges also like the data integrity issues with the data timestamps in the both systems are different. Now, why it has been happening? Because you see today, as the technology has been evolving, we have these products. Whenever we are going for the ERPs or a QMS, the products what we have been listed here. So these are all products. When there is a decision making happens, the respective business head will take the best products in the world, so that do we comply with the regulatory requirements. Right. So the organization will choose the best products in the world to automate their specific process. But here the question comes in is like, what is the cost of integration? Right? The cost of integration is so high as each product has different architecture and integration methodology, and they have their own kind of secure access permissions. So these are all things that are really making the integration cost is way high. Now coming to this, as I said, the first step towards the distillation is the data. Right now, but the current challenge is data is in different systems and at different sites. So we need to have a common platform or for data, an integration among the system, so that you can able to take decisions on the fly. So here, when we try to connect these, what level of integrations are being required between these systems, right? So when we look at a simple example, if when you're raising a change control in the QMS and it has to trigger to a document approval process in the DMS, and once the document has been approved, then you need to get trained people in the LMS. Then it comes back to the QMS for closing the change control. And in the same way, when you wanted to have an electronic batch manufacturing record, you must need to have an on the fly. You should be able to raise a deviation with the electronic batch manufacturing record. In the same way, you need to have electronic logbook where the entire information from an electronic logbook should be translated into the electronic batch manufacturing records to create your batch record, and which is supposed to be submitted to the regulator. So in this way, when we look at this is very high level that what we mentioned, these integrations. But yes, when we go deeper, there's a good amount of integrations are required between these systems. So what if all these applications runs on a single platform under the technology? Yeah, we agree that you already have an established system, but still imagine that if a single platform or a technology can able to solve your business problem, so that it really a thought can be given. But there are challenges. You already have some systems in place, but still you can able to have some kind of platform for doing an integrations, a standard platform that can able to do an integrations. So that's another way of thinking, rather than completely revamping the applications. So the roadmap is towards the distillation starts, because when we look at again getting one system into an organizations will take longer time, because there is a cultural change that we need to get in before the making the systems rating in the environment. Coming to this, the roadmap towards the distillation, what as an AmpleLogic, what we have seen the real life challenges, we have some kind of thought process we built in, and to how we can able to do the stepwise approach to reach your distillation roadmap. So the first step towards the distillation is the data collection, right? The data collection can happen from your business process automation, and also addresses data integrity issues with the integrations. So the data has been coming through the business process automation, as I said, and now you can use this particular data to take an immediate benefit, right? Rather than waiting for the distillation, which is going to take minimum of 3 to 5 years. Let's try to kind of take a benefit from the data. So we propose as an intermediate step, which called as a business process excellence. These are the products that areas that where you can able to improvise your productivity and efficiency in the process. So we have these products. We can say that these products can add value here. One is the lab excellence and the capacity planning, product quality reviews, right? And so this is an employee skill evaluation. So when you look at the lab excellence, the turnaround time of samples, if it's taking 3 days, or if you can able to group the samples and load into an equipment, because the time that we keep the sample into an equipment may be 5 hours. If this is a one sample instead of 5 hours, why can't we have like four samples can spend the same time in the same machine with the same product group and the same kind of test scenarios? So that something is works by pulling the data from your limbs and try to apply a business intelligence and give suggestions saying that you can group these for three samples and assign it to this analyst. And the capacity planning, where we have seen some of the production lines have been fully occupied, some lines are not occupied, and even the equipments in the QC labs, right? That R&D, and D, and when you look at the commercial specific labs. So where we have seen that there is a good amount of gap in terms of underutilization, full occupancy kind of equipment. So that can be able to be achieved with the capacity planning, right? And you have a PQR, product quality reviews, wherein you can on the fly you can able to generate a statistical analysis rather than waiting for months and years to take a decisions on this PQR reports, right? So statistical analysis can be directly been applied when you have a data directly onto this using this PQR. And at the same time, you can also have this quality metrics auto populated onto the managements on a weekly basis kind of thing. So that really helps in terms of, say, the lot rejections or the mark complaint rates. So some of the scenarios which you can consider from this point of quality metrics that helps the business to take a decisions fast. And the resource utilization, now you have already have an electronic batch manufacturing and also LIMS, wherein that how your the planning has been done, the resources have been utilized, that you can able to get it from those systems and you can see that how the utilization has been happening in the organization. And another thing is employee skill evaluation, where you can able to see that how you can gauge a person with the amount of skill that what they have it on an equipment or a process, so that you can make them the skilled people in the organizations. They can make them as leaders in the specific process or a specific equipment. So that's something wherein this skill evaluation really helps. In the same way, the next step where we can do that, the first step where we can see larger benefit is you have the data that you've been collected by adding some additional sensors to your equipment. You can do the predictive analytics, your equipment failures or a real-time data statistical analysis, which you can able to do it. And with the digital performance dashboards is another space where you can do some kind of projections and with the predictive analytics. And once you have all these things, then you're seeing a benefit of it and improving the productivity and efficiency with the systems. And then finally, then you're landing there at the Pharma 4.2. But still, this is something as an AmpleLogic, working with the different customers and understanding the ground level problems we come with this strategy. So now coming to this, yes, you wanted to have a good amount of business process excellence systems. You wanted to build, or you would like to get some business process, new business process automations. But still, the question comes in: the time that takes for a development, and the time that takes for a validation is very high. So this is something is a major challenge in the industry. Now, how this can be addressed? This can be achieved with the low code platforms. So this may be a new term for you. Some of you are completely from a domain, right? But is a trend in the technology industry that what is this low code? Now, what is this low code platform and how it accelerates the distillation, right? So, end of the day, that's we're talking about a common platform for everyone in the organization that can be used to collect the data and can able to interpret the data. So, what is this low code platform and how it accelerates the distillation? Let me get an understanding. So, let me show you the sample screen wherein you can able to see that how this low code platform is in your distillation. Now you see in today's world when you cannot take longer timelines to deliver any kind of solutions. So this is something is if you look at a kind of electronic logbook, you have this equipment usage logs where you can able to manage your logs, right? Quite easily you can able to create a new logs and logs, right? So you can able to create a logs as simple as it, and just if you wanted to go to the kind of how we arrived at these logs, right? You can able to see the dashboards and what are the back dashboards you wanted to have it. You can have these back dashboards. And so coming back to this, I'm going to go back here, and I would like to see that how I can develop an application. I just click on this, and simple we wanted to create an input screen. Just click on this, and we just drag and drop. Just drag this particular field over here. Yes, you can able to set the properties specific to this particular field. So in this way, that you can able to generate your kind of data collection points. So this can works on this mobile or like tab view. You can able to. So in the same way, you have these workflows, right? You can able to create your own workflows, right? So, and if you wanted to add any kind of workflow in between, you can able to just simple drag and drop and add it here, right? So the same thing is at a glance, low code looks like. So as per Gartner, low code platforms are really usage in the industry is going to grow, and even in 2021, the growth expected forecasted growth is 23%. And now, how does this low-code platforms work? As I just gave it a demonstration, you can see many applications can be seen in a single screen, right? So that's what we call it as an application designer. And we have a step to the interface, as you have seen that you can able to drag and drop and create an interfaces, and you can able to create your process design, and you can able to define the permissions, like who need to do what based on their job responsibility, based on their designations. We can able to give the roles and responsibilities, and the integrations. Now you already have certain amount of automation already exists, and you have some systems already been there, and we can able to integrate those systems with the low code platforms, and you can able to get the good analytics out from this. So this is what is like that analytics and reporting that helps you in creating this. So these platforms allows a cloud, on-premise, and hybrid hosting. That if the organization would wanted to go with the cloud, yes, it supports, and on-premise, it also supports. And a hybrid hosting is nothing but wherein you can have some information available online, some information available offline. For example, you wanted to capture a compliance, right? Market compliance. Market compliance can be given by received from the market, so that market compliance can be on the cloud, and your root causing and also investigations, everything is going to be on premise. So that after this compliance process internally gets complete, you need to give back the response to the complaint initiator, so that that information will be available online. That's in the cloud. So this is a way that we can manage this hybrid hosting model with this low-code platforms. So now question comes in, yes, we are talking about a low code and how it is going to be helpful in terms of in the software delivery. And we can connect with the how it can benefit the CSV, the computer system validation model. So when you look at the user requirements, typically when you see that we have added URS and the configuration and experimentation in this user requirements. So typically the user requirements will be drafted in the lengthy documents, and the interpretation of these requirements by the technology people, and it may be in a different way. So that's the reason as an AmpleLogic, we come with this innovation called as configuration and experimentation, wherein if suppose if an organization would like to go for this QMS software, so as we demonstrated, we can able to drag and drop and build the requirement on the fly, and make and get the acceptance from the business. So that's what we call it as a configuration. And the technology teams will do the configuration, and the business teams will do the experimentation, so that we both are on the same page, instead of like that going back and preferring the documents again and again. You can visually see the application development. So once we agree on that, right, then we sit on and revisiting the user requirements. So this is a more of a collaborative mode where this applications are going to be developed. And with this approach, you can bridge the gap between the technology vendor and the business user, both talk in the same language. And you can able to, the business users can able to realize the business requirements at the early stage of the project. So resulting in the faster delivery, so that they don't need to wait for the validation completion and before go live to see some surprises. They can able to understand the business requirements in the system in the early days of the project. And there is no repetitive documentation, because you're not going back and forth and updating the document based on the changes that has been done on the system. So it's a repetitive documentation will be avoided, because it's a more of visual representation way we are accepting the system. So it's reduces the integration and validation cost. Now, this approach really helps organizations in making applications live in 6 to 8 weeks, including validation. Right now, the USFDA has been come up with a draft CSA, a software assurance model, rather than the software computer system validation. So the difference is like, that the current CSV approach is like this. Like you have a document, testing activities, assurance, critical thinking, and all these things will come as a part of CSV approach. And when we talk about the CSA model is nothing but software assurance, where the FDA has been emphasizing more on. It's instead of putting a more effort into the documentation and try to. This is interpreted in this way. As a CSA, we are interpreting in this way, wherein put a more thought process into the critical thinking and put a more amount of time in the assurance, and then the documentation is being followed. And what does it mean is like if a low code platform can able to give the documentation by itself, so we don't need to put a much amount of effort into the documentation. The documentation is being coming from the low code platforms. So the critical thinking where you can see the risk definitions and everything which you can emphasize more on this. And then after that, you demonstrated the feature functionality working as desired or not. That's where the assurance comes in. And leverage and define the different test methods like scripted and unscripted testing as a part of testing activities. So this is what is certain when we see when we this just like flipping this CSV, and that's where the CSA. If we wanted to do the critical thinking and assurance, we wanted to give a good assurance, like putting a more effort towards that. Now the question comes in how it will work with the traditional software development methodology. Right. Software development, typical software development, how it happens, you take the requirement and then you go back to your office and try to do the coding and come back. So this is what is typically happens. Then you don't have any kind of, you cannot able to manage that with a less documentation. So now coming to this is the CSA approach can able to achieve with the low code platforms, wherein you can have a low code platform which really give a right assurance in the very early stages of the project, and makes you to think. Right, when you are seeing the feature, then you can able to see that like, practically that you need to apply some kind of that additional checks on the risk parameters. So everything can able to be done with this low code kind of platform. And the low code platform is a technology trend nowadays, and so because it has got the visual modeling like can be done, and adding the flavor of a configuration and experimentation approach for the AmpleLogic size. When you have this combination of this low code with a configuration and experimentation model, you can able to achieve the desired results faster than a conventional way of software delivery. As an AmpleLogic, we have been practicing this low code kind of delivery from 2012, and having nearly 100 customers and experiencing the value of our platform. So would like to say that one platform and many applications that is going to solve your business problem and really helps you in marching towards your digitalization of the organization. So thanks for your time. Really thanks to Informa for giving me this opportunity. And we'll be glad to hear the Q&A. And we request you to please put as many questions as you can, as we have in nearly 20 minutes of time.